Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Show on Radio Nigeria Coal City 929 FM, Enugu. My name is Ekene Odiyugwe. I'm your host. Today we are turning our searchlight on World Environment Day 2026. This year's global theme is climate action, a timely reminder that every sector and every community has a role to play in protecting our environment and securing the future for generations to come. Across many Nigerian cities today, we are witnessing rising temperatures, worsening floods, poor drainage systems, traffic congestion, disappearing greener areas, and rapid urban expansion. These environmental challenges are not just natural occurrences. Many experts say they are closely linked to how cities are planned and managed. Today, we are exploring an important topic: greener cities, how urban planning can reduce climate problems. Joining us is a professional in the built environment sector, Town Planner Dr. Anierobi, Lecturer, Department of Urban and Regional Planning, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, and member, Nigeria Institute of Town Planners, NITP. Thank you very much for joining us, Doc.
Thank you for having me, and greetings to my audience.
Okay, let's begin. When many people hear the phrase climate action, they immediately think about planting trees or reducing pollution. But urban planning is increasingly becoming part of the global climate conversation because cities themselves can either worsen environmental problems or help solve them. Dr. Anierobi, from a town planning perspective, how would you explain the connection between urban planning and climate action?
The question here is very germane. The relationship between urban planning and urban climate actions, they are very interrelated because when it comes to action on building the environment or developing the environment of any human settlement, planning becomes the key thing. And when you fail to plan, you have indirectly planned to fail. So be it tree planting, greening, good positioning of facilities and infrastructure. Once they are not planned, then the issue of ameliorating climate change is defeated. Therefore, planning the physical environment by virtue of professional town planning actions is the key to combating climate change. Because when the drainage channels are not placed in proper locations, gradients, slope to flow with the natural feature of the environment, then flooding cannot be combated. When wastes, on the other hand, are not designated in proper places for ease of disposal for residents, then residents will find it difficult by way of distance and ease of access to waste disposal facilities. Then they will now take the self-help measure of dumping those wastes into the drainage channels or any available spaces, thereby polluting the environment, blocking drainage channels. And of course, this has its consequences. And at the end of the day, climate actions are defeated. Again, if residential buildings are not properly delineated, ordered for ease of access, affordability, and utility, then the aim is also defeated. Open spaces, if not properly delineated, ordered to serve the purposes, then the aim will be defeated. They will be either turned to dumping ground for refuges or converted to some other uses. High occupancy ratio, congestion, poor traffic flow, and generation of fumes from vehicle and other sources of carbon and chlorofluorocarbon, carbon family and greenhouse gases. All these add to the global climate change phenomenon. Hence, the need for proper town planning to bring about comfort, convenience, aesthetics, security, health, and functionality in the built environment. Thank you.
Nigeria's urban population continues to grow rapidly. Unfortunately, in many places, development happens without proper planning. Buildings spring up on waterways, drainage systems are blocked, and green areas disappear almost overnight. How has unplanned urban development contributed to climate-related problems such as flooding, heat waves, and erosion in Nigerian cities?
If you look at the scenario we have in Nigeria, for example, where population growth is uncontrolled and unplanned, hence the spillover population and the urban sprawl, you find out that it is still hinges on lack of planning, lack of town planning in our human settlements, be it rural or urban, semi-urban, the cities, the urban centers. So if we look at closely at these issues, you find that the chain reactions in the lack of planning, okay? For example, when you talk of blockage of waterways, you find out that for waterways to be blocked by buildings, it is lack of approval of the building plan or even lack of building plan in the first place. So when the building plans are absent or are not subjected to approval by the town planner, who in his professional acumen determines what should be where and why. And of course, the cardinal reasons for proper ordering and delineation of land uses will be defeated. Comfort will be defeated because when there is precipitation, rainfall, the water has to flow. The runoff has to run. And in running, if its channel is blocked, natural channel, and no provision is made to contain the flow, then it will definitely find its way. And as it finds its way, the runoff might visit homes and wash away structures, residential structures, commercial structures, flood generally. The roads even carry human beings, destroy lives and property. And green areas will be maintained when the town planning ordering of green open spaces or green areas or agricultural areas or forest reserves are put into perspective and complied with. With that, the issue of urban heat island will be addressed because the carbon generated by the urban population or population of the settlements, even in their breathing in and out, generates what? Temperature, okay? Talking, by even, let alone when it's by a crowd, generates temperature, increases temperature. Then when you cook, when the vehicular emissions, when you drive, and so on and so forth, all these adds to the temperature. Let alone when you now burn bushes, bush burning, refuse burning, and what have you. All this adds to the what? The temperature of any human settlements. And when this rises and accumulates, then you have global warming and depletion of the ozone layer. And in consequences, the global climate change.
Across the world, cities are now investing in green infrastructure, parks, urban forests, pedestrian walkways, sustainable drainage systems, and eco-friendly transportation. These are no longer seen as luxurious, but necessities for healthier living. So, what makes a city green, and what practical steps can local cities take to become more environmentally sustainable?
Yes, granted is the fact that cities are embracing green infrastructure. Yes, sure. And I think this can be credited to the awareness on the effects of global climate change. phenomenon, okay? And the effect of urban heat island. The temperatures gives everybody discomfort, and everybody's looking for a way out. Hence, the need for a more green and green infrastructure. However, it's important to note that there is specific requirements in underlining what green really is, and the practical steps local cities can take and become more environmentally sustainable. This is because planting of trees alone does not address the issue of increase in temperature, urban heat island, and global climate change. No. Besides greening, that's planting of trees, another is to reduce the production or generation of greenhouse gases. This is very important. It's very important. And one of the practical ways of doing that is to reduce the waste we generate by applying the three R concepts of waste reduction. So the first R is to reduce the quantity of waste we generate. Urban waste generation is tripling incredibly over time. Granted that might be accredited to an increase in population, urban population. However, the quantity of waste generated can be reduced to the barest minimum. Secondly, is the already generated waste can be subjected to reuse. And by reusing already generated waste like plastic bottle waters, sachets, polythene, and all that, by reusing them, cleaning them up and reuse them for some other uses that are palatable, then you won't be generating further waste in trying to get another of such containers to use. So with that, the generation of new ones will be eliminated. More so, recycling. When the available generated waste are recycled into some other uses, then it prevents generation of further wastes. And this reduces the quantity of waste generated and the quantity of waste to be disposed. And when the quantity of waste to be disposed are reduced to barest minimum, then the quantity of heat, temperature, and all that in the atmosphere will also be reduced. In the same way, the cooking fuel we used, it also counts. Renewable energy in cooking, like using cooking gas, clean energy. Granted that some of these are over time becoming expensive. So government should have this in mind while addressing economic issues so that this clean energy can be affordable to the common man in order to save our environment, save our planet by reducing heat, increase in temperature, and global climate change.
Now, one common concern is the steady disappearance of open spaces and trees in many urban areas. Yet, experts say trees help reduce heat, improve air quality, and even control flooding. How important are green spaces and tree planting in urban planning, especially in addressing climate change?
Yeah, experts say that tree helps to reduce heat and improve quality and even control flooding. Sure, that is a fact. It's therefore important for us to really understand, how important the greeneries are, the trees are, okay? So that we'll have it in mind when we exhibit some actions against the trees and the open spaces. One is that the trees, besides providing shades, okay, and a place of abode for some other organisms like the birds, the insects, okay, and all that, the trees, especially the green trees, that's why greenery is important, carries out photosynthesis. They have a niche in nature, a natural role of purifying the atmosphere. By virtue of their food production autotrophic nature, they absorb the carbon, which is the main element of heat. and increase in temperature, especially the greenhouse gases. It is the carbon and the carbon family, up to the chlorofluorocarbons. So the green trees absorb them in the process of photosynthesis to produce or manufacture their own food. And these foods are the foods which we eat. As for the orange tree, we lick the oranges. As for the pears, we eat the avocado pears and what have you. And this feeds man and some other vegetarian organisms. Okay? So the cycle goes on, and life is sustained. It follows, therefore, that the more the green plants, the more the open spaces of green areas, the more the trees, the more the grasses, the more the plants, the green plants, the more purified the atmosphere is, and the more enriched we are in terms of atmospheric resources, especially oxygen, and the more life we get. It is therefore important to understand this and met these greeneries and green open spaces and green organisms, plants, with care. There is great relevance, reward in caring for our environment.
Also, transportation is another major issue. Long traffic queues and dependence on fossil fuel-powered vehicles contribute significantly to air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. How can better urban planning improve transportation systems and reduce environmental pollution in our cities?
Proper town planning is a sure key towards a better urban planning and improvement in transportation systems, as well as reduction in environmental pollution in our cities. For example, when roads are not properly linked, they're not properly ordered or delineated because of planlessness, they become haphazard. And the places that should ordinarily take short distance to arrive at will take longer distance because of what you might refer to as an Israelite journey. So when we subject our human settlements, be it the rural, urban or suburban, the cities, to proper planning, of course, this can be done. Even the existing cities can have urban renewal strategy method on them, such that different land uses can be properly linked. Different city centers can be properly linked. Even sub-centers, both major and minor centers, cores, urban cores and sub-cores, or nucleus and nuclei and subnucleus and subnuclei. They can be properly linked up in a way and manner with the professional acumen of the town planner, so that distance traveled over time can be reduced and alternative routes will be available. So you don't waste time passing through the city center like here you have in Enugu, instead of taking the alternative route. For example, getting to somewhere like New Market. One doesn't have any other option or alternative than to pass through Ogbete and that axis, So there is need for proper linkage so that travel time distance that has to do with increase in burning fossil fuels by vehicles and vehicular emissions that adds to greenhouse gases that brings about increase in temperature, increase in greenhouse effect, as well as global climate change could be reduced drastically.
If you're joining us, this is Breakfast Show on Coal City 929 FM, Radio Nigeria, Enugu, and we're talking about World Environment Day 2026. Theme is Climate Action. Topic, Greener Cities, how urban planning can reduce climate problems. And in the studio, we are joined by Town Planner Dr. Chris Anierobi, Lecturer, Department of Urban and Regional Planning, University of Nigeria, Enugu Campus, and member, Nigeria Institute of Town Planners. You can join the conversation on coalcityfm929.net.ng. Back to you, Dr. Anierobi. Many environmental policies exist on paper, but implementation often remains a challenge due to weak enforcement, political interference, and rapid population growth. What policy changes or enforcement measures would you recommend to help Nigerian cities better respond to climate challenges? And while government policies are important, residents also play a role or have a role to play. Environmental sustainability cannot succeed without community participation and public awareness. What responsibilities do citizens and communities have in supporting greener and climate-resilient cities?
Well, it is neither here nor there, but from my perspective, policy measure change that I would recommend to ensure that the various laws and policies on paper, are translated to implementation is just community action. I would recommend for community action. Community action in the sense that, policies exist on paper, laws on paper, but implementation is the issue. So who is to implement it? It is the people, and it is the people that is the government. So if the people as a community do not rise up to identifying what they want and the action they should take, then who is government now to do that? It is somebody among the people, the community, that tomorrow rises to become the president, the minister, the senator, the House of Rep member, the House of Assembly member, the governor, or the local government chairman. So it is community action, my dear. If we can sustain a community action, like in the olden days, you see, when there were no such laws, formal laws, legislations, and all that, our communities seems to be better off in terms of there was no all these issues of global climate change phenomena. Okay? Because communities engage themselves, by themselves, for themselves, in themselves. There were traditional mechanisms such that conserved areas are delineated as forbidden forests. Forbidden forest. You don't go there to cut any tree. You don't go there to for any logging. You don't go there. It's allowed to flourish naturally. Okay? They are called forbidden forests. It is don't touch, don't go, don't do, allow it. Water bodies were delineated as sacred. You don't do certain things on water bodies, let alone build across them. You don't. They are allowed as sacred to flow, okay? And so on and so forth. Areas are plotted out as open spaces. You don't go there for any other thing other than for recreation. You go there for recreation, enjoy the greeneries and all that. You don't go converting any of those open spaces and so on and so forth. So if traditionally, over time, historically, our settlements by our forefathers were sustained till our time, why can't we continue that community action that sustained it to this point in time? It is deviation from these community actions that have led to what we are facing today, the challenges we are facing today. Even though there's increase in population, fine. Yes, there should be increase in population over time. Even the Bible said, go ye, increase and multiply. And it still said, subdue the earth. Subdue all these challenges of the earth. Okay? So there are things that are forbidden. When you are asked not to tamper with this, you don't tamper with it. Tampering with it brings about consequences. So in today's formal planning legislation, when you have reserved areas, please let it be reserved. Let there be no conversion. If you have delineated areas for residential, let it be delineated areas for residential. When you begin to mix things up, the mixed land use issues today, fine. But then they should be properly guided. That's where you have all this confusion. And it starts with the planlessness. Ours seems to be an introverted economy where things are done upside down. You get a settlement, there's no future for that settlement. Future for a settlement comes with planning. We don't plan, and we don't seem eager to plan, despite suffering under the pains of the consequences of planlessness in these settlements. We don't seem eager to still plan, and we continue to suffer it while time and tide waits for no man. So it is a community action. What is remaining in the policy documents and the laws that are on paper not being implemented is community action, such that somebody that already traditionally have inculcated attitude towards care of the environment, towards planners, towards the future, towards sustainability. When he becomes a local government chairman, when he becomes a House of Assembly or Reps member or a senator, he brings them to bear. When he becomes a governor or a minister or a president of the nation, he will bring those knowledge to bear. So community action is essential so that personal attitudes can be shaped towards sustainable environment and sustainable development to combat global climate change. Thank you.
All right. Young people are increasingly becoming active voices in climate advocacy, environmental sanitation, recycling campaigns, and sustainable innovation. What message would you like to share with Nigerian youth on the importance of climate action and environmental responsibility?
It's interesting to note that young people are increasingly becoming active voices in climate advocacy. Sure, that's a good one, but more has to be done. More needs to be done and has to be done urgently. You get, today we see various environmental advocates and less results. The results are not commensurate with the increasing number of environmental activists or advocates. So much more needs to be done. Much more needs to be done. This year's World Environment Day heralded much interest and the celebration. Community action is essential, but the youth should be the core drivers. More participation is needed. Current participation commended, but more is needed to be done. And I think, let me just advise that the youth should put in more energy and voice towards calling for domestication of the Nigerian urban and regional planning law. That law is one singular legislation that is being neglected, that suffers the entire nation, the country, okay? Because it is that law, when domesticated, properly domesticated, some did lip service domestication of it. No, properly domesticated. Such laws are laws that come with actions, properly delineated actions, rules, properly delineated rules, responsibilities, properly delineated responsibilities, as well as rewards, properly delineated rewards for actions, and so on and so forth. So it is important we look in that direction so that such a law will not remain on paper and undomesticated. They should come to limelight in all the states of the Federation, okay? So the key thing towards bringing about sustainable development, like our communities are developing, but how sustainable are they? So bringing out sustainability in our development to have sustainable development. This law, this Nigeria Urban and Regional Planning Law, 1992, has to be domesticated in our various states. The youth should voice it out. They should carry it. And once it's done, it should be celebrated an achievement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Town Planner Dr. Chris Anierobi, Lecturer, Department of Urban and Regional Planning, University of Nigeria, Enugu Campus, and member, Nigeria Institute of Town Planners, NITP, for sharing your insights with us on how greener cities and proper urban planning can help reduce climate problems. As we mark World Environment Day 2026, the message is clear. Climate action is everyone's responsibility. The choices we make today in planning our communities, protecting greener spaces, managing waste, and supporting sustainable development will determine the quality of life for future generations. Thank you so much for listening. Producer has been Jude Obu, and supervisor is the General Manager, Coal City FM, Kate Nebo. The Zonal Supervisor is the Deputy Director Programs, Joy Obitilata, and the Executive Producer is the Zonal Director, FRCN, Enugu Zonal Station, Dr. Ikechukwu Eze. Thank you for listening, and my name is Ekene Odigwe. Good morning.